Comrades, thank you for clicking onto this video. My name is William Morrison. I'm your British Marxist-Leninist and anti-imperialist comrade, and in this weekly video we are going to be reading a passage from this book here, The World According to Xi. It's a book I read a couple months ago. I've been meaning to make this video for a while. I am going to do a book review on this book as well in the next couple of weeks maybe. It's a fantastic book. Fairly fair and unbiased kind of book on China and Xi Jinping. It definitely has some questionable kind of things, but as a general rule, this book is fairly unbiased. It's fairly fair. The author, Carrie Bram, did live in China for about 10 years, so her sources aren't from, like Western media sources. They are from actual, like, government documents. So, but yeah, I did like the book, very detailed, and yeah, this passage that I'm going to read in this video really, really excited me. It inspired me so much, and I hope it does the same to you. So yeah, I hope this video, you enjoy this video. It inspires you a little bit. There's been a lot of there's been high levels of demoralization and kind of just a lack of motivation in the past week or so. So I hope this video helps. This video, it helped me when I read it a couple months ago, and I hope it helps you too. So yeah, this book is about China. It's about Xi Jinping and his leadership in China. But yeah, the passage I'm going to be reading today is about the vision that the Communist Party of China and Xi Jinping have for the future. The passage goes over two goals. Their first goal is their goal for 2035. So what Chinese society should look like in 2035, and the second half of the passage is beyond that, 2050, which is their second centennial goal. By 2050, of course, the Chinese People's Republic will have existed for 100 years, or 100 years. So yeah, if by 2050, what's in this book, what I'm about to read, happens, that will be like a record for human history to completely modernize and progress as a society at this fast of a pace. 100 years. If you look at what China looked like in 1949 and what this says that the plans are in 2050 for what China should look like, and these aren't just speculations or dreams. These aren't some sort of utopian goals that will never be reached. China isn't a Western country, all right? We're not the UK, we're not France, we're not America. Our politicians just lie and say, oh yeah, we'll do this by this year. They never do, because they just expect us to forget about it. China's not like that. China mean what they say. They genuinely actually care about rejuvenating and innovating their country. And they've already started. Almost every single goal that China has given itself, they have within obviously the correct timeline, they have achieved. They have achieved every goal that they've given themselves so far. So I have no doubt in my mind that they are going to also succeed in their 2035 and 2050 goals. So I don't really know a good place to start. I have reread this a little bit recently. Let's see. Yeah, that should do. So it's not a long passage. It's just maybe over 2 pages. It'll maybe take 5 minutes to read. So just bear with me. But yeah, I hope this inspires you. It definitely inspired me. For Xi, in his 2017 speech, that dream was of a society that was innovative, where the creative energies of the Chinese people, liberated by the country's good education system, was now equal, and in many respects superior to the world around them. There would be no more reliance on foreign technology and know-how. The era would be done with learning from the rest of the world because of a massive domestic knowledge deficit. Instead, China would be in control of its own advanced technology and would be the destination of envious foreigners, not like a pauper hoping for more of their help. An innovative China would also be, according to Xi, a well-governed one where the great machinery of administration had finally been perfected and where rules, regulations and protocols, according to Chinese characteristics, were an ally to stability and an aid to development, and had created an egalitarian society which was truly run on socialist principles. In this society, the temporary acceptance of rising levels of inequality would have finally revealed itself as having been a means to an end. The elevation of the whole of society to a good standard of living. China would have avoided the deep structural flaws of the Western democratic countries, with their huge gaps between rich and poor. It would have delivered modernity to the Chinese countryside and ensured similar levels of social welfare in both urban and rural areas. Such a China would be harmonious, a place governed by the hybrid belief systems and philosophies of socialism and traditional Chinese culture. It would be a place of tolerance, where people would be free to practice their religion of choice, but also responsible for the society around them, meaning that they would never attempt to give their religious ideas preeminence over those of others. It would be a society of justice, where people felt they belonged not just to an equal society, but to an equitable one. Somewhere with strong civic values, where the country was not just a vast collection of discrete familial and individual networks. In this society, there would be no ethnic conflicts, and there had been in parts, like there had been in parts of the US and Europe. There would be satisfaction, contentment, and a sense of fulfillment, with people happy in the knowledge that they were living in a culture that was deeply rooted, humane, and focused on the well-being of the individual. But it was about more than just the balanced and harmonious relationship between humans. China in 2035 would be a place where humanity lived in concord with nature and where the environment has finally been cleaned up. Carbon emissions are under control, cities are full of green spaces, buildings are built to high ecological standards, and the smog that once blighted urban areas is a thing of the past. People would have clean water and good quality food, and would be able to enjoy a natural environment that fills them with inspiration and wonder at the diversity of their great geography. Further into the future, in 2050, the dream even gets grander and bolder, but more abstract. In its 100th year, the People's Republic will be, in Xi's word, a global leader. It will be fully modernized. It will be a prosperous and democratic society with Chinese characteristics. The dream will have been delivered. The great rejuvenation of the Chinese nation will have been achieved. And at that point, the party will be able to justify the arduous struggle of the last 2 centuries as a vital step on the way to realising this ambition. The role of the people will simply have been to keep on believing in their dreams and in the grand plans of the Communist Party of China. As long as they have kept their faith over the years, then they will see all those dreams come true. That's it. Actually, it took a lot shorter than I realised. So yeah, I just read a short passage from the book The World According to Xi. And yeah, I hope now you can see how I was very excited and very inspired when I read this passage a few months ago. This is absolutely fantastic stuff. And what's even more inspirational, what gives me such a sense of hope and optimism about the future of socialism, is that, like I said earlier, they've already achieved lots and lots of their goals. They have already started taking action on climate change. They've already started cleaning up their cities. They've already started to build really effective infrastructure in the countryside and in the rural areas. China has already become a prosperous nation. China is on its way to becoming, or already is, a middle-income country. China is no longer the sweatshop of the world. It's no longer the sick man of Asia. It's a leading power. It's a leading political, technological, and cultural power. And it has massive influence. And this passage proves that they're not even satisfied with what they are now. Me and many communists and Marxist-Leninists out there already support China for the society that it is now. You know, even from this point on, China has taken 1 billion people out of poverty. They have helped massively help other countries without expecting any payback. They've forgiven loans to several, 20 or 30 African countries they forgave loans to. They just want to help. And where the US and European powers attempt regime change, China goes into countries to help build infrastructure there, to pay workers, to hire local workers on Chinese projects, so they have money and they can buy food to feed their families. China has no interest in regime change. They want to just genuinely help humanity because it's good for humanity. They want social justice. This is absolutely fantastic, and it's so inspiring. And this is China now. China has taken that many people out of poverty as of now in the past, since 1985. China has built hundreds and hundreds of kilometers of high-speed rail. I think China is responsible for about 80 to 90% of the global high-speed rail networks. It's unbelievable what China has already done now, and as this passage proves, they're not even done yet. They're not satisfied with how good they've been so far. They admit that they have lots of challenges. There has been corruption problems when in administrative positions. There has been problems with bribery and embezzlement. There has been deception and lies within the opportunistic ranks of some, self-centered party officials. And Xi Jinping has led a very successful anti-corruption campaign. Thousands of government officials have been arrested and tried for crimes against the people because they have embezzled money or misplaced certain funding programs to certain areas. Amazing things have happened now, and they're not done yet. China is a country that just wants to infinitely improve and infinitely just get better and progress over the years. It's absolutely fantastic, and it's something that all people can get behind. I'm sure even conservatives can agree that what I just read in that passage was a good thing. It talks about innovation. China wants to be an innovative leader of the world. Where that's funny, because we're all told in school and in our jobs and in society in general, in the Western democratic, capitalist systems, that it's capitalism that breeds innovation. That innovation is a capitalistic thing. Competing against others and stepping on people's toes and stabbing people in the back and deceiving and being Machiavellian in our economic activities. That this is all good stuff. And innovation is a capitalist thing. And that's why there's such high productivity and economic success within the capitalist systems, because of innovation. Well, that's not true at all. Innovation is not an inherently capitalistic thing. China is attempting to be the innovative leader of the world, and they have no intention of becoming capitalist. They are a socialist market economy. Their whole ideological systematic foundation is enshrined in the Deng Xiaoping theory, Xi Jinping thought, Mao Zedong thought, Marxism-Leninism, socialism with Chinese characteristics, anti-imperialism, multipolarism. These are all ideological lines that the Communist Party follow. Nothing to do with capitalism. I can assure you that. I think it's really, really interesting that China has such a strong emphasis on innovation and technological superiority. China doesn't want to be on the same level or just compete with the US with technology. They want to completely outrace them when it comes to technology. And that's already happening. If you've seen the technological breakthroughs of China in the past few years, in regards to medicine technology in medicine, in the military, and even things like public transport. They have robotic automated street cleaners. Obviously in China there are still human cleaners that just go around with the pick thing and pick litter off the floor and put it in a bag. But in most major cities in China now, they have these little robots that just suck up rubbish off the streets. And then they're programmed to go to a regional kind of centralized plant, and then they just dump all the rubbish there, and then robots in the factory then clean up that rubbish and then put it into different piles and stuff depending on what it is, if it's paper or cans or glass or recycling. This is happening in most Chinese major cities. Western countries are decades away from that. We are nowhere close to having that technological kind of capabilities. And in China they have robotic driverless buses, and also mainly free transport. If you are in a major Chinese city, you can pretty much just go on any bus you want. You don't have to pay a thing. You go and sit down, and there's no driver. It's a driverless bus. It's just programmed to go a certain route. This is happening. There's driverless taxi services and stuff. This technological innovation, it's decades ahead. It's decades more superior to anything we have in the capitalist, national bourgeois West. It's absolutely insane. And what I talked about medicine, obviously they have breakthroughs with cancer treatment breakthroughs, vaccines for what used to be, uncurable illnesses. We now have vaccines that you can just vaccinate people against. It's absolutely insane. Also, their support with Cuba. They've been working with Cuba to fight to create vaccines for dementia. Now, in Britain and in America, there's no cure for dementia. If you are diagnosed with dementia, it is an inevitably degenerative disease. You will die from it. That might not be the case forever. In the very near future, with China's great technological innovation leap, and with Cuba's leading scientific field in academic research, we might very soon have a cure to dementia, vaccines against dementia. It's absolutely insane. Another thing that was in the passage was that Xi wants a well-governed society. Now, I know what conservatives and the right wing and what anti-communists would say. Oh, of course they want to be a well-governed society. Xi Jinping's an autocratic dictator, and China's a dystopian, authoritarian country, and of course they want to be well-governed because they want to spy on their people and blah blah blah. I don't believe that this is true at all. I think that Xi Jinping wants a well-governed society to, first of all, protect just normal law-abiding citizens, to protect the people, protect society. And there's a very easy reason why they'd want that. It's very sensible, it's a very sensible kind of justified reason, and that is that China has a very bloody history of being oppressed by foreign powers, by alien powers. They were brutalized by the Japanese fascist empire. The Japanese empire that allied with the Central Powers and the Axis powers and sided with Mussolini in Italy and Franco in Spain and Hitler in Germany. The Japanese were on the fascist side during World War II, and they carried out the mass rape of Nanking, millions of children butchered alive. There's been historical documents that have suggested that the fact that Japanese prisoners of war camps were actually just as brutal, or if not even more brutal, than the Nazi concentration camps, which killed 6 million Jews, half of the global Jewish population back then. It's absolutely insane. So China has a long history, even with the British, the Opium Wars. The British Empire wanted access to trading routes, and they wanted some of China's raw material kind of resources. And when they refused, they introduced opioids into the Chinese population, got them addicted to these drugs. So they had a weak, just decaying population. So China couldn't defend itself against the British, and that's essentially why things like Hong Kong even exist now. The peril of the empire. So China has a centuries-long history of being backstabbed and stepped on and abused and oppressed and occupied by foreign imperial colonial powers. So now that China finally has independence, post 1949, when the communists took over, now they finally have their own independence, and it's Chinese people that organise and run are in charge of China. They want to keep that. They want to maintain that authority that they have over the people, because it's their people. For once, they finally have independence. So yeah, I think any country would do that. You know, any country in the world, when they get independence, they want to keep that independence, especially if you've been occupied and oppressed for so long. You're going to distrust other countries. You're not going to trust things. You're going to want to do things by yourself. And that's what China is doing. So I think with that historical context of war and struggle and occupation and genocide and all this horrible, brutal stuff that China has had to go through, yeah, I think it makes absolutely perfect sense with that historical context in mind why Xi Jinping wants such a well-governed society, to keep their people safe. They have that power now. They have the resources to do that. Why wouldn't they? They're not just going to allow other countries to step all over them. So of course, a well-governed society is absolutely fundamental to the future of Chinese society. Another thing is they want a smoothed out, perfected administrative sector. Well, of course they do. You know, China has had massive problems with bribery, with embezzlement, and with corruption. And of course, New China is a new country. It's only been around since 1949. All right, it's not. It's a new country. So of course, when a new country is established, there's new governmental institutions that need to be set up, and of course they take time to perfect. All institutions do. Even in Britain, the NHS, when that was first founded, when that was first created through workers pressurising and struggling against the government, and the communists and trade union movements and the influence of the Soviet Union to help create the NHS, it had its problems to begin with. There was distribution problems, logistics problems, there was the technology wasn't really there, there was a conservative reluctance to actually fund it in the first place. There was lots of problems, and it took decades to smooth out and iron out the problems of the NHS. And now, as today, the NHS even now still has huge administrative problems. It's turned into a very bureaucratic organisation, and there's lots of red tape that actually prevent people from getting the care that they need. Those are huge problems, but it has came a long way. And that's the same for any institution. So yes, China's administrative class within the Communist Party has had massive problems with bribery, embezzlement, and corruption. No one is saying that that's not true. They have. That is a fact. But you have to look at why. China is a new country. Socialist China is a new country, and they have to be given the benefit of the doubt, and they have to be given space and time to develop their own path and to work on themselves and to help improve that sector. Xi Jinping admits that bribery and corruption and stuff has been a massive problem. Xi Jinping has been a very effective and successful leader in the struggle, in the anti-corruption struggle. It was him that started the anti-corruption struggle, and thousands of people have been arrested within the Communist Party for things like bribery, embezzlement, and corruption. So it is being dealt with, and it's thanks to taking responsibility and admitting to the fact in the first place. But like I said, we have to look at why it is a problem in the first place, and it is because Socialist China is a new country, and it hasn't been given the time to kind of smoothen out, iron out, and perfect these problems yet. It will. By 2035, by 2050, these problems will mostly, hopefully, have been solved, and I really do believe that. The modernisation of the countryside was another thing. Sorry, I have notes by my side just so I make sure I'm staying disciplined and principled in what I'm talking about, and I don't go off tangent. I have a thing for going off tangent and ranting, so I have these notes to ensure that I don't do that. But yeah, the modernisation of the countryside is another fantastic thing. You know, better technology, so better farming equipment, tractors and combine harvesters and agricultural tools, and a boost in technology in that area. We have to have better networking between the cities and the countryside, so that better infrastructure, so that the food and vegetables and stuff and livestock that is made in the countryside can be transported to the urban areas. So there's better trade routes, and that obviously will include improved and paved roads that go into the countryside. That's a must. That's a thing that has to happen. Better infrastructure so that's what Xi Jinping means when he says the modernization of the countryside. That's what he means. Better trading routes, so like lorries and stuff can get to the countryside, because China geographically is a very rough terrain. It's a very mountainous country. It's a very mountainous nation, and sometimes where the rural areas are, it's extremely difficult to get there. Sometimes it's very remote, and it's very hard to get there. It's very rough terrain. So it'll be an uphill struggle, a very arduous struggle for the Chinese Communist Party to pave those roads and create the right infrastructure, so it's easier to get to and from the countryside, from the cities. But once again, I do trust that they are doing it, and need to support the farmers and give farmers better standards of housing, so they want to do it. It's an incentive to actually do the work, of course. And another thing, obviously, which links on to my next point, is an ensured. The quote was, I think it was, ensured similar levels of social welfare in both rural and urban areas. What this means is that a fairer distribution of resources and funding. In many countries in the world, especially in China when it was first funded by Mao, there was a massive problem with unequal funding. The cities had almost all the funding, and the farms didn't have much. The agriculture was very much lacking behind in regards to support. So this was a problem. This is a problem in almost every country on the planet. In Latin America, in Africa, in Asia, even in Europe. There's usually a lot more funding and focus goes into the cities where the money is, and the farms and stuff in the agricultural sector gets left behind, or it's not treated very fairly. So China has seen this as a massive pattern and a problem, and they're willing to fix it. They want a fair distribution of resources and funding to both the rural areas and the urban areas. So this is a very positive thing that should be supported. And there's so many things. Like, I'm going to probably wrap it up now. There's so many things that are so positive about this passage that I just read. Freedom of religion, social justice regarding women's suffrage, environmentally friendly initiatives that clean up China, improved healthcare and education systems, a focus on good physical and mental health, treating chronic diseases that actually the decadent Western societies have actually given China because of opening up the borders. Chronic diseases like diabetes and heart disease are inherently Western problems. It's a problem that the first world face. And because China is getting to that point and it's becoming a middle-income country, then it's became a massive problem. These chronic diseases, diabetes and heart disease and lung problems and liver problems and alcoholism. These are actually becoming quite big problems in Chinese society because of the influence that the West are having. So of course that needs to be dealt with. The 5 things I just listed there: the freedom of religion, women's suffrage, environmentally friendly initiatives. These are fantastic, just good, positive social virtues, and just fantastic. So, I'm really looking forward. Of course, I'm a young comrade. I'll be alive when it is 2050. So hopefully, I'll be able to see firsthand that China has held to its promises. It's finally realised its ambitions, and it has achieved its goals of a prosperous, democratic, rejuvenated, and fully modernised China. I'm very much looking forward to seeing if that is the way it turns out. I'm sure it will. I can't wait to see China just continue to rise overtake the USA economically and create the embryonic stage to the multipolar bloc that will create an alliance across the world that stands up against US Western hegemony and unipolarism, and creates a more bipolar or multipolar world where there are other regional influences, not just the USA policing and bullying the world, but there are other options for countries to support and choose to support. And I hope China can do that and lead the multipolar movement with the help of Russia and Syria and Iran and the DPRK and so many countries are already supportive of China. And yeah, just it's inevitable. It's a wave that is going to hit land, you know, would be a good analogy. So yeah, I hope this video did do what I wanted it to do, which is inspire. I hope it did inspire you. I hope it got you a little bit excited, and I hope it hasn't caused. I hope it has, you know, cheered you up a little bit. Like I said at the start of this video, there's been a lot of demoralization in the past week or so. There's been a lot of very negative things being said and happening. There's lots of cancelling and slandering and lies and people just kind of cancelling and blocking each other and arguing, and there's so much distrust currently right now. And yeah, I hope this video helps just kind of cheer people up. So thank you very much for watching. I'm not going to hold you any longer. Please like this video, share it around, promote it, and of course, subscribe to my channel. Thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next video.